to support member states to address a myriad of crime, drugs, crime, terrorism issues. But our mandate also expands into other areas such as maritime crime, counter narcotics, treatment, rehabilitation, supporting effective prosecution and judicial outcomes, and so on. So it's very diverse in terms of the work that we do. Here in Indonesia, we are primarily focused on 5 areas.
What's that?
Organized crime, not in the particular order that I'm giving you, but so organized crime, addressing drug problems, so whether that be rehabilitation or the counter narcotics, so the supply and the demand side, as well as anti-corruption, terrorism prevention, as well as criminal justice that addresses some of the issues around prison reform, crime prevention, and so on. And we have another pillar, which is primarily supporting Indonesia in the event of any crises. As you know, Indonesia is very much prone to environmental episodes. And so in those instances where there may be an environmental issue and a disaster, and the criminal justice system, law enforcement system has been degraded as a result of that, we would certainly offer support and assistance to the government to respond to those things. And we've done that in other countries as well.
Oh, that's really great actually. Partnersnya atau kantornya itu ada di Wina, Austria. Dan UNODC ini di Indonesia sendiri berfokus pada 5 hal, yaitu yang pertama kejahatan terencana atau organized crime, yang kedua ada tentang narkoba, di mana di sini UNODC juga berfokus pada rehabilitasi narkoba dan lain sebagainya. Lalu yang ketiga ada anti-corruption, dan yang keempat ada terorisme. Lalu yang kelima ada criminal justice, Sobat ADXA. Dan UNODC ini merupakan sebuah organisasi yang juga tergabung dengan PBB ya. Dan ini merupakan suatu hal yang sangat luar biasa sekali lagi untuk kita dapat mengundang ya Mr. Holly Brown di podcast PRO-SATU ini. And from what you're telling us about the UNODC itself, the scope is pretty wide, right?
Yes.
And how do you focus on that? I mean, you have a lot of focus range and you need to focus on everything. How do you keep on focusing on that?
Well, I mean, we are located in countries around the world. And each country has its own set of priorities. And so we may not focus on everything in every country, but we focus on those things in the particular country where we work that supports the priorities of the government, but also support responses to those threats that are unique to that country. I mean, nowadays most criminal justice or crime threats are common to a lot of countries, to include Indonesia. I mean, in this region, drug trafficking is a big threat to almost all the countries in this region. Organized crime, of course, transnational organized crime, and those transnational organized crime groups that are involved in the trafficking of drugs. And so we essentially develop a scope of support with in consultation with the government, and depending on the priorities of the government that we then bring to bear. So while our mandate is pretty wide, we only will focus on those areas that is a priority in the particular country.
Jadi Sobat ADXA, seperti yang dijelaskan oleh Mr. Colin Brown, bahwa banyak sekali ya fokus dari UNODC. You said that the focus of any country is limited, and you have several focus on each country. So in Indonesia, the focus is those 5 that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, for the most part, it's a combination of those 5 areas. Because each year we have a very formal, detailed consultation with the government. And while we may bring forth ideas in terms of areas of focus, the government is also going to say, well, these are the types of things that we're looking for support from. Like for now, for example, cybercrime is a big thing now. And so that's an area that we've begun to focus on because we recognize the threat that cybercrime brings. We've seen a proliferation of an innovative, creative response to be able to address those.
Okay, so it's updated yearly.
Yes, of course. It's updated yearly, and of course, because crime evolves, right? And criminals are always trying to stay ahead of law enforcement. And so, one of the activities that we undertake is doing ongoing analysis of the environment to see what new forms of methodologies that criminals are undertaking, so that we can then bring that information to our law enforcement counterparts and our government counterparts for them to be able to adapt those into their criminal justice responses.
Okay, that is actually really great. Jadi Sobat Adiaksa, untuk di Indonesia sendiri, tadi fokusnya ada 5. Namun setiap tahun akan ada pembahasan untuk menyesuaikan dengan kondisi yang ada pada tahun itu. Jadi karena masyarakat dan bentuknya itu dinamis, jadi akan selalu ada perubahan dan juga pembahasan untuk mengantisipasi dan menyelesaikan permasalahan-permasalahan tersebut, Sobat Adiaksa. Tadi Mr. Brown juga menyebutkan tentang, mencontohkan juga salah satunya adalah tentang cybercrime yang mungkin semakin meningkat sejak adanya masa pandemi ini. Okay, Mr. Brown. So, for right now, UNODC have the agenda of visiting the House of Restorative Justice. Well, that is very interesting for me, but can you please tell our audience about the agenda itself?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to visit Malang and Batu. Well, there are 2 primary reasons why we wanted to visit. One is to visit the Restorative Justice House and, of course, interact with the Attorney General's office here. But the other one is to visit with our colleagues from the GenPass, from BAPAS, to look at a halfway house that they've established as part of their support to people who have been released from prisons. The Restorative Justice House is something that I had been hearing about through the media, that the Attorney General's office was using this concept of Restorative Justice House as part of its implementation of restorative justice. And I'm familiar with some aspects of other restorative justice houses or centers, as they're called. And I was certainly interested in wanting to see the operation here in terms of the house as it's been established. How does it work? What are the benefits? And so on. Because part of what we do as a UNODC is globally, as we're working with countries, is to gather these different types of interventions and innovation that we can share with counterparts around the world, right? And so for Indonesia, looking at this Restorative Justice House, seeing how it works and so on, and looking at what is the promising nature of this, that potentially can be packaged and shared to other people around the world who might be implementing restorative justice.
Right. Oke, jadi Sobat Adiaksa, kebetulan kunjungan dari UNODC ke Kota Batu ini untuk Mr. Brown ada 2, yaitu yang pertama yaitu untuk mengunjungi Rumah Restoratif Justice atau Pondok Seduluran, dan yang kedua yaitu untuk mengunjungi BAPAS dan melihat bagaimana sistem kita untuk dalam BAPAS itu sendiri. Jadi bagaimana sistem di BAPAS itu istilahnya kita mempersiapkan untuk orang-orang yang hendak menyelesaikan masa hukumannya. Dan untuk di Restorative Justice sendiri, Sobat Adiaksa, Mr. Brown ini tertarik untuk ini merupakan salah satu bentuk implementasi dari Restorative Justice, dan Mr. Brown beserta UNODC sangat tertarik untuk melihat bagaimana praktik Rumah Restorative Justice sejak berdiri hingga sekarang, bagaimana Rumah Restorative Justice ini beroperasi dan apa saja manfaat yang sudah dirasakan dengan berdirinya Rumah Restoratif Justice ini. Dan hal ini sangat menarik Sobat Adiaksa karena penting untuk bisa melihat inovasi-inovasi yang menjanjikan untuk kemudian kita bisa saling sharing bersama dengan negara-negara lain, dengan seluruh orang di seluruh.
I know in other countries the way that has been practiced is that you have, and in some countries they call it restorative justice center, right, where you bring people together as part of the restorative justice process, right? So you may bring the offending party and the victim, the community, and restoring the victim as they were, right? So an offender commits a crime against a person, right? There's a victim. Yeah. There's also a community who may have been harmed by that crime. And so the parties are satisfied with the outcome. And that also helps because in places that can avoid conflict as well, right? Because a person who may have committed a crime went to prison, and this is the prison part of restorative justice, I think, go to prison and is now going back to the community, right? There could be people with still harboring feelings about this person who committed this crime, right? And so you can have issues of revenge and so on that occur. So restorative justice, the idea of restorative justice has a wide application in terms of how it can be used. Certainly with the Attorney General's office in terms of facilitating the process of restorative justice and being able to facilitate the parties coming together, the parties being able to resolve the issue, and for the issue to then be resolved to the extent that it doesn't go further into the criminal justice system. That certainly is a benefit of restorative justice. And so I'm looking forward to see the House and to see how it's being used within the broader context of restorative justice.
Oke, jadi Sobat Adiaksa, menurut Mr. Collie Brown sendiri, restoratif justice ini sangat menarik ya. Dan Mr. Collie Brown juga memberikan contoh di salah satu negara di mana terdapat juga sistem yang hampir sama, namun penyebutannya adalah Restorative Justice Center, di mana idenya adalah untuk mengumpulkan pihak-pihak yang terlibat dalam suatu kasus untuk kemudian menyelesaikan masalah tersebut, mulai dari apa yang dirugikan dan lain sebagainya, sehingga tidak ada perasaan-perasaan dirugikan dari satu pihak atau pihak yang lainnya, seperti itu. Dan Mr. Collie Brown sendiri sangat tertarik untuk melihat bagaimana implementasi atau praktik dari Restorative Justice House di Kota Batu ini, Sobat Adiaksa. Okay, Mr. Collie Brown, it's very, very interesting to have this talk with you and also with our audience, or we refer it as Sobat Adiaksa. And thank you very much for being here. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you very much for the opportunity to share about UNODC, and we certainly look forward to our continuing efforts in supporting Indonesia in its efforts to implement restorative justice.
Okay, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy your visit in Batu.
Looking forward to it.
And
I wish I could spend more time.
Maybe
it's a short trip.
Yeah, it's a short trip.
Yes,
okay.
It's a short trip.
Oke, baik Sobat Adiaksa, dan terima kasih sekali untuk Mr. Collie Brown yang telah hadir hari ini dan memberikan kita banyak sekali ilmu-ilmu baru tentang Restorative Justice dan juga tentang UNODC. Dan sampai jumpa lagi di episode podcast selanjutnya. Jangan lupa untuk terus ikuti pembahasan terbaru dari YouTube channel Kejaksaan Negeri Batu. Jangan lupa untuk like, komen, dan share ke teman-teman kamu. Dan terus ikuti pembahasan terbaru dari kita. Saya Lisa Febian mengucapkan terima kasih dan sampai jumpa.